If you think that nationality or ethnicity or some vision of nationalism is an account for anything in the final judgment of God, you are sorely mistaken. And so if there's anyone qualified to judge, it's Jesus. That's why it says in Matthew 25:31, where is Jesus sitting? He's sitting upon his, where is he sitting? Come on, where is he sitting? He's sitting on his glorious throne. We read this earlier, but listen to Psalm 9, 7, and 8 again. The Lord reigns forever. He has established his throne for judgment. The very throne Jesus sits upon is for judgment because God is for justice. And so God can do what we cannot. And so there will be a final judgment. There will be a final reckoning. And it says that all the nations are going to be brought together. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Every person listening to Jesus speak that day would have been, yeah, of course. Of course the nations are going to be brought together. Of course, all the nations are going to be brought before God's throne, and then they're going to be separated out. And what's the breakdown going to be? Every single one of Jesus's listeners would have said, yeah, let me get this right for y'all, the opposite. On the right will be the nation of Israel, and on the left will be all the other nations. That's how it's going to work, right? That was the understanding of every single one of Jesus's listeners that day. And so he says, I'm going to sit on my throne, this throne designed for judgment. And the nations are going to be gathered, but instead of a separating of the nations, we get a separating from the nations. What we're expecting Jesus to say next is, well, on the right will be Israel and maybe those who bless them, and then all the other nations. And instead, nationality has no bearing on the final judgment. If you think that nationality or ethnicity or some vision of nationalism is an account for anything in the final judgment of God, you are sorely mistaken. It's not nationalism. The nations are gathered, but it's not the nations that are separated. There's a separating from within, meaning people from every nation, tongue, tribe are scattered, some to the right and some to the left. What's the dividing line? What's the means by which Jesus makes his righteous judgment? Let me read it. The king will reply, this is verse 40, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And then jumping down to verse 45, he will reply, this is the king, this is Jesus speaking again, truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. So what's the dividing line? It's not some sort of national boundary. The dividing line is the dividing line of love for the least of these. Here in Matthew 25, at the final judgment, Jesus looking out about all the nations, scattering some to the right and some to the left. He says the basis for the separation is how did you treat the poor, the hungry, the sick, the naked, the imprisoned, because how you treat them is how you treat me.